We learn how to be light and how to smile quickly, how to keep things easy for everyone else. And this wasn't because we didn't have any needs. It's more so because we were terrified that our needs would would drive people away. So we became experts at carrying ourselves so that no one else ever had to. Even when even when we were breaking, even when we were desperate to be held. This is the wound that we're naming today. The wound of never wanting to be a burden on others. The wound of learning that closeness comes with a cost and deciding that we'd rather pay that cost ourselves than to ever let someone else feel it. And right here, right at the edge of this pain is where I want to invite you in. Welcome to Vintagers. This is a place where I believe intimacy begins where performance ends. And that integrity is not perfection, it's more so alignment. That being known is worth the risk of being seen. This is where we try to be real, not polished or performative, just honest from the ways that we hide. Because some of us, we've never learned how to ask for help. And it's not because we're proud as much as because we're scared. Scared of being too much. Scared of tipping the balance. Scared of the silence that might follow if we said, I'm not okay. So we didn't say it. We kept it together. We became the person that everyone could count on, even though we never felt like we could actually count on anyone in return. It's a strange kind of grief, if you will, to feel most safe when no one is looking, and to find peace not in being supported, but in being invisible. Because when we're invisible, no one gets disappointed, right? No one pulls away. No one calls us too much. We learn to take pride in that aspect, in being low maintenance, in not needing anything, in essence being the strong one. But strength without softness becomes armor, right? And after a while, even we forget how to take that armor off. So we start mistaking our self-containment for wholeness. And it's not wholeness, though. It's loneliness in disguise. See, we keep our struggles quiet because we think that's what love demands. So we don't want to inconvenience anyone else. We don't want to be a weight that they didn't ask to carry, right? So we carry it alone. And slowly the weight becomes who we are. See, this isn't about the dramatic abandonment. It's not it's not that someone actually walked away when we needed them most. It's that over time we learned to pre-abandon our own needs so no one else would have to do it for us. We in essence erased ourselves to stay included. We shrunk our feelings so that we wouldn't make anyone feel uncomfortable. And we monitored our tone, our timing, our tears, always asking, is this too much? Or am I too much? And every time the answer felt like, yeah. So we took another step back into silence. And it's not just exhausting, it's erasing, isn't it? And eventually, we don't just fear being a burden. We actually forget how to be anything else. See, there's something especially cruel about how well this wound hides. See, it shows up as independence, as capability, as maturity. And we get labeled as resilient. People admire how calm we are, how composed we are, how self-sufficient we can be. But they never actually ask what it cost us to become this way. They never really ask about our childhood where we had to manage our own emotions because no one around us in that season knew how to meet them. They never knew how to ask about the friendships where we showed up like 100 times over and never asked for anything in return. They never ask why we flinch when someone offers support to us, like generosity in something, and the kind that we feel we have to repay. See, they see the ease, but they miss the pain points. Because most people only know how to love the version of us that doesn't need anything. The version of us that keeps everything light, that never cries in front of anyone else, that always finds the silver lining. And they love that part of us that especially knows how to shrink to fit inside the room. And we let them, right? Because shrinking is far safer than risking rejection. So we downplay our needs. We tell ourselves it's not that bad. I mean, we say others have it worse than we do, right? We convince ourselves that we're being mature when really we're just terrified of what might happen if someone really had to carry our part of our story. And if we're honest, we don't even know what it feels like to be held without performing gratitude in return. See, that's the part of this burden that we have to address as well. Not just the fearing that our needs are too heavy, but fearing that if someone actually meets them, that we're going to owe them more than we know how to repay. So we stay quiet and we call it strength. But silence is not strength. It's more survival. And survival isn't living. It's holding your breath through every relationship, hoping that no one notices that you're starving for support, but too afraid to ask. So we tell ourselves that we're protecting people, right? And that we don't want to stress them out, that we don't want to dump our problems on anyone, that we're just being low drama. But beneath all of that is the truth that we're familiar but rarely admit, and that is that we're afraid that if someone sees our need, they'll step back. They'll see us differently. They'll label us as fragile, or worse, they'll offer help and then disappear. Because that's happened before, right? Maybe in childhood, maybe in early expressions of love relationships, maybe in a moment when we finally let someone see us. And in that moment, they looked away. We decided then, never again. I'm going to hold it all together. I won't need anything. That way, no one will have to leave. But this price is steep, because a life without needs isn't possible. A relationship without needs is not intimacy. This is just proximity with emotional distance. See, we can't build real connection from behind a mask of invulnerability. We can't be fully loved if we're never fully visible. And that's what this wound robs us of, I think. Not just the ability to ask, but the belief that asking is even safe. Not just the capacity to receive, but the deep embodied sense that we actually deserve to. So we become givers and overfunctioners and fixers and caretakers, and we pour into everyone else so that we don't have to notice how empty we've become. And even when someone does ask, like, is there anything that you need? How can I help? We freeze. We freeze because we've spent so long convincing ourselves that we're fine, right? That the truth doesn't know how to really surface anymore in us. And we laugh it off. We change the subject. We deflect. Not because we don't need anything, but because we've lost the practice of expressing. Because receiving feels like exposure, like stepping into a spotlight with no script. And it's a terrifying thing to be seen in our hunger, right? To be held in our not okayness, to let someone witness a part of us that we usually manage alone in the dark at nighttime, between breakdowns that no one really ever hears about. That's what this fear really is about, I think. It's not just the fear of being a burden, but the fear that we're only lovable when we're easy in those connections. That if someone has to carry part of our weight, that they'll at the core start to resent us and withdraw from us and ultimately abandon us. So we do the pre-abandoning. We carry our own heaviness, and we apologize for our feelings, and we stay silent even when the tears are stinging. And we pretend that we're okay because we're not sure that anyone could or would stay if it weren't. And even when someone does stay, we keep performing the version of us that they're used to. Because what if that's the only version that they know how to love, right? This is how this cycle sustains itself, I think. We're surrounded by people, but still feel deeply alone. And it's not because they don't care, but more so because we don't let them see the places that would require them to. We become mirrors instead of windows, reflecting back what people expect instead of actually revealing what we actually need. And over time, we lose track of the difference between who we are and who we've been performing. We, we forget how to receive without flinching, or how to cry without apologizing, or how to ask for help without rehearsing how we'll make up for it. And even when we dream of letting someone in, something stops us, something ancient, something that's buried deep in our nervous system. And it's kind of like a quiet, unspoken rule. It says, if you let them see your need, they will leave. But the truth is this: our needs are not the problem. See, what harms relationships isn't asking for help as much as it is in hiding so long that we become strangers even to the people who love us. And what isolates us is not our vulnerability, it's our belief that we must carry it alone. And what keeps us feeling like a burden, in essence, is the silence that wraps itself around our truest longings, our longing to be held, to feel safe, to feel like we're enough, even when we're not easy. See, there's a kind of healing that begins not with fixing, but just with admitting, acknowledging, admitting that we're tired of holding it all together, admitting that we're tired of managing every relationship so we in essence don't become a burden, right? Admitting that we're tired of being the strong one in rooms that have never made space for our softness. See, healing starts with the smallest rupture in performance. It could be a pause, a tear that isn't hidden, a moment of truth that's spoken instead of suppressed and swallowed. It might sound like, gosh, I could really use someone today. Or, I know I always say I'm fine, but in this moment, I'm not fine. See, it doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be honest. Because every time that we tell the truth about our needs, we're in essence stitching ourselves back into our humanity. And every time that we let someone meet us in that space right there, in the raw, in the unedited, in the not tidy version of ourselves, it's then that we discover that we were never too much. We were just too hidden. This series, Unspoken, exists to name the wounds that live beneath the surface, the kind that we carry quietly, the kind that goes years without having any air to breathe. The kind that whispers things like, you're not allowed to need what you need, right? But the reality and the truth is, you are allowed to need. You are allowed to be held. You are allowed to be soft and to ask and to tremble and to not always know the way forward. You, you just needed to hear the permission and still feel like you're worthy of love. This episode is not meant to fix you. It's meant to find you, to say the thing out loud that you've been carrying alone this whole time. And that is, I don't want to be a burden but the reality is, I still need someone. Let that be enough for now. Let that truth breathe in your experience. Let it break the silence that's been misnamed as strength. See, you are not too much. You never were too much. You're just finally learning to take up the space without apologizing for it. I hope this has served you well. Let me know in the comments if there's additional ways I can clarify this point, that you are worthwhile.